Today I'm going to talk about the Marry Millions couple, Brianna and Bill. First off, I'm giving this video a trigger warning as it will be about sexual assault and abuse. In case you're not familiar, Marry Millions was a lifetime show exploring the romantic relationships of millionaires with everyday people. Bri was a 21-year-old waitress living in Dallas, and Bill was a 6-year-old commercial real estate developer. Very recently, Bill was arrested for sexually assaulting several underage girls. When my boyfriend first showed me this, I put on my shocked Pikachu face because when I first watched Marry Millions, I saw a few things in Bri and Bill's relationship that made me really uncomfortable aside just the age difference. I saw signs of what I believe to be an abusive relationship, allegedly. I rewatched both seasons and all the interviews I can find to explain why I think certain moments were red flags. When we talk about abuse, I think people always assume the obvious things like rape or physically attacking their partner. Abuse essentially comes down to power and control. Recognizing it isn't something that is really taught, and I think because of that, people either don't take it seriously or ignore it, which I will give examples of later in this video. Based on this article from NUSC and a few other sites, I'm using the following categories of abuse to help outline this video: psychological, financial, stalking, and cultural. So my first example is during our first introduction of Bri and Bill. After you get the B-roll of their separate lives showcasing how different they are, Brianna goes into how they first met.
Bill and I met when I was working as a hostess at a restaurant, and I started noticing that he would come in every day on his lunch break.
I love going there watching you be a hostess.
He became my regular, like I was expecting to see you. I could tell he was interested, and it definitely made me feel good.
You're a better girlfriend than a hostess.
Oh yeah?
Yep.
Bill did work pretty hard.
Immediately, I knew I wanted a second date and a third date. And now, a year later, we're living together and we're madly in love.
When I listen to this, it's obvious to me that she was not interested in this man. Like Bill said, he wouldn't take no for an answer, so he kept coming. Publications that talk about abuse will tell you that this is technically a form of stalking. When they talk about it, they make it sound innocent, but this literally makes me think of when people joke about rom-coms from the 80s and 90s and how problematic they are. The main character pursues the female character in obnoxious and public ways. Not long after that, you instantly learn what the dynamic is in this relationship.
We have a lot of events coming up. Dinners, my speeches, there's so many cool things. And I want you to come to everything. You got a dinner coming up. Some of my closest friends and business associates. I want you to be there too. Are you up for it?
A little nervous about it, if anything, because I don't really know how to act quite yet. You know, I'll walk around and I feel like I'm being stared at. What if I don't go?
How about if I just take somebody else then? Would you like that?
No, I would not like that.
Well, maybe you should rethink it then. How about that?
Who does that? Someone who knows his money is a major factor in a relationship and is ready to weaponize it. This is our first introduction of financial abuse. The fact that he invites Bri to move in with him so he can take care of her enables the continuation of that abuse. He is creating an environment where she becomes dependent on him and his lifestyle. He is already creating expectations in the relationship that Bri didn't actually agree to. And this becomes a recurring theme, which leads us into psychological abuse. It's a big chunk of this video, so buckle up. During a dinner she's pretty much forced to go on, one of the guests rightfully points out their age difference.
Bri, how old are you? So I am 21. Oh, she is so much younger. Like, when they're hanging out together, what do you even talk about?
She even comments on how Bill just kept coming back to the same restaurant just to see Bri.
The real story.
How'd you all meet?
Okay, it was a Mexican restaurant, and she was the hostess.
Really?
And I just hung out in that bar area so I could just watch her.
And you kept coming back day after day? Do you think that's a little weird? It's kind of weird that he was coming back every day. Like, I'm just saying. Do you think that's a little weird?
When Bri leaves the table, Bill tells her this acquaintance is just jealous, and Bri has to get used to it because this is her life now.
It's a feeling.
She's a lot older than you are, and so she's probably jealous because you're young and beautiful, and she's not. Don't take it personally.
Is this a forever thing? Am I forever gonna get looked at like this young chick who's trying to claw? I didn't even want to come tonight.
Honey, you gotta get used to this because this is our life now.
No, wait, listen to me first. I'm tired of it, ma'am. I can't keep hearing this.
Once again, she didn't agree to this. Also, that was really insensitive. So in order to help Bri fit into Dallas high society, his reasoning is to bring in his ex-wife Kathleen. Why? So a seasoned socialite can show her the ropes on how to behave around rich people.
Maybe she could help you with some of your issues. She definitely is a big deal in the society world here. What if Kathleen embraced you?
And then people would like me because someone else likes me?
Bingo.
You hear what you're saying, baby?
I just want you to be able to go to these things and feel comfortable.
I can't get over the fact that Bill overstepped so much. For him to just think that he has so much control, like, I'm gonna set Brie here and it'll fix all her problems without even consulting her. Like, I'm not like a Barbie. You can't just, like, move me around.
Brie, once again, didn't ask for this. She has no interest in trying to figure out how to be a socialite, especially being pressured into it. He convinces her to meet with Kathleen, and the two finally have a chat.
What can I do? At least something give me a chance.
The other wives, they feel, you're a 20-year-old with a 61-year-old. It's disturbing to them because it's younger than his daughters.
I know my age is obviously something that separates me.
Yeah.
But is there anything I can do to open people's eyes?
Great. You're a child. He's your
Our
grandpa.
age, trust me, I know. I hear it all the time.
He looks like your great-grandpa. I don't want to hurt you, but Bill is not a big person. He's a cheater. And you have to know that. I mean, he was on a date last week with somebody.
This is completely ludicrous. I thought this get-together was to help me and to know this community, and instead she just told me that the man that I'm in love with is cheater and a bad guy.
Maybe you can still love a man that will not be faithful. So maybe it's worth, having the big lifestyle and loving Bill, but that does come with it. And you have to know that. Unless you corner Bill and you catch him in something he's going to tell you. I believe Brie will not leave Bill if she finds out that he's cheated on her. She's naive, and I think she's going to be in for a rude awakening. So I'm telling you this as a helper. Protect yourself.
Now, this is where the story starts to steamroll. Brie is shocked and doesn't want to believe what Kathleen is saying. Now comes the gaslighting. When Brie confronts Bill about this, he acts like he doesn't know what the hell his ex is talking about.
We went to meet each other so she could help me or give me advice for something. And the whole time we're there, all she's talking is about how you're such a horrible person, how, you cheated on her and you cheated on all the rest of these girls.
What?
That's the person you are. And you'll always be a cheater.
Guess it was a bad idea putting you together with my ex-wife.
I'm so glad this is funny to you.
No.
Look at me and tell me it's not funny. You're laughing about it like it is. And it's not. Yo me estoy tomando esto serio. Because it actually hurt. And it's funny to you.
I didn't know she was going to go back to, her ill will of our relationship, which was so long ago.
But what are you telling me?
That it's not true.
He brushes it off like it isn't a serious accusation. In my opinion, he straight up lies to her face. Kathleen doesn't have anything to gain from being mean to Brie. She was married to the dude for 15 years, didn't talk to him for 10. She has her money, she's set. And while we're on Kathleen, say what you want about this woman. I don't know how she is as a person, but she really gave Brianna the business. She told her no lies. She told her exactly what to expect from this man and had no problem pointing it out, repeatedly. For some reason, the next logical step in Bill's brain is to make plans to move to Miami, where he says, quote, "No one cares about stuff like that."
Did you like it, honey?
I did like it. I think it's a really beautiful boat, but I'm not too, sold on it because I don't see the purpose.
The purpose. Well, honey, the reason why I want to buy this boat is because we're moving to Miami.
All right, so that happened, yeah.
He kind of dropped the bomb on me. What is he thinking? I'm actually angry that he didn't think that I would have an opinion about this, that I'll just drop everything and leave.
I know how you like surprises.
But this isn't a little surprise, honey. This is a life decision that will change a lot of things, and you didn't think about that. It's crazy that he thinks that I would have no issue with this. I've never lived anywhere other than Dallas, and that's where my family is.
He surprises Brie on the move, not consulting her about this at all, because remember, control, and of course, 21-year-old Brie is pressured into going along with it.
I've never lived in a different city. Neither of us know anyone out here.
That's the beautiful thing about it, baby. We're anonymous here. We don't have to put up with all that noise in Dallas. Take me away from all those hoity-toity things where you feel that you don't want to mess with, and just be with me.
I can't help but feel that, in a way, I'm making a selfish decision by coming with you.
Oh.
Because that puts a strain on my family. How are my parents going to feel? Taking their youngest daughter away from them.
We can invite him to stay. There's plenty of guest bedrooms in this house, honey.
I just feel like you're being too carefree about this large decision.
Well, I'm not going to move out here by myself. There's nothing wrong with Dallas. But we've done that. You've done it your whole life. Try something new for a change. Look, I'm new. You took a bet on a 60-year-old, didn't you? How's that going so far?
Good.
Say that again?
Good.
See?
This is a problem. So Bill places Bree in Miami. He isn't even there half the time. Bree becomes lonely and at this point is isolated because she was pressured into something Bill wanted to do. With the suggestion of her mom, she decides to go out and meet people.
Are your friends here?
Oh, they're right there. Hey guys. Good to see you.
Hi, I'm Bree.
Nice to meet you. Bree, Megan.
You guys ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
I met Bill when I was 20, so I never really did the whole going out club scene.
Yes, yes. Enjoy yourself. I'm so happy you're home.
This is the first time in a long time that I actually feel like I'm having fun. I'm being me.
Oh, put it away.
While Bree is out, Bill is texting her and she eventually puts the phone down, not thinking much of it. I think she gets back home like early morning. I'm pretty sure they never agreed on when she would be back. So this is the scene that made me go WTF when I first watched this show.
Bree did not answer any of my calls. She came home. God only knows what time it was. She never does this type of thing. Back in Dallas, Bree never goes out. Did you get drunk?
I definitely drink more than I normally do.
You know, I tried texting you a couple times.
Yeah, I know.
Do you not check your phone when you're away from me? How about the courtesy of responding to my text? At a certain time, you go, it's late. Bill probably is wondering where I am. I should be home right now.
I feel like you're frustrated and you don't really have a real reason to be.
I don't have a reason to be.
I do feel bad that I didn't text him back, but I definitely think he's going a little overboard with this, especially because it's the first time it's ever happened. I'm in this house all day long, but I need friends to just be myself with as well.
Well, I just want to know who's the real Bree. Is it that Bree?
This is not something that is a reoccurring situation. One night does not define anything. I mean, you're acting like, oh, you showed me a new side of you. That's not a new side of me. I let my friend take me out and introduce me to some people.
Last night reminded me of my situation with my ex. A big part of what destroyed our relationship was that my ex liked to go out and party. And it was very unhappy for me to have to experience that. I've lived those nights before, and I didn't like them. And I don't want that to start happening. I hope coming to Miami wasn't a mistake. I wanted Miami to be fun for both of us, not where one of us twists off the handle and then the other one's not having any fun.
I went out for one night. I don't think that's twisting off the handle. And you kind of have to remember, I wasn't completely on board about coming to Miami. Back in Dallas, I had my family. I don't have anybody here. I don't have friends. I don't have family. When Bill's out with his friends, I never make it a big deal. He can't tell me that I can't go with my friends when I want to go with my friends.
You were not that person when I met you. And I don't want you to be that person now.
And I'm not becoming that person.
You were that person last
Why
night.
are you talking to me like that? Relax. Stop. He's not listening to me. He's being completely irrational. He's not even giving me a chance to talk.
All of a sudden, he is accusing her of having this wild side, hiding her true identity, that she is this crazy party girl who went behind his back. He's gaslighting her. He then goes on to complain about why his last marriage with a 24-year-old didn't work out. Bree visits her mama, who I love, and she says this.
He never yells at me. We don't talk to each other like that.
He's probably used to everybody doing what he suggests I do.
But no,
That's
that's
what
not a healthy
that's what he wants. That's
relationship.
Control. Bree has a birthday coming up, and Bill has the idea to throw a party for her. He decides to invite all of his bougie friends who hardly know Bree and her friends and family. Oh, and we can't forget his ex-wife Kathleen, who makes an appearance because Bill asked her to. So we already see this division between the two groups of people who just don't mesh, or at least we're led to believe that. But for some reason, Bill keeps bringing up the need for them to be together when Bree would have been fine with just her friends and family since she knows how the people in his circle feel about her. Bree's camp felt uncomfortable being there because of the class difference. Then Sharon, Bree's mom, responded in a way that she would, that caused more animosity, prompting Bill to expect an apology to a woman who didn't really need to be there. Why is he creating a situation that would cause stress for Bree when she should be celebrating? So Bill also decides to set up a dinner with Bree's parents and his ex-wife to patch things up. When Bree is picking something to wear, Bill is pretty much hovering over her, telling her what to pick, saying Kathleen wouldn't like this or that. Why does Kathleen's opinion matter? He keeps saying that he wants them to get along with Kathleen, but Bree never had a problem with her. Bree was over here and Kathleen was over there, and they were just living their lives. It didn't turn into anything until Bill started to create situations forcing them to interact with each other. Kathleen and Bree's mom patch things up, and once again, Kathleen brings up Bill's cheating. He responds by saying he doesn't believe in monogamy. First of all, that's not how you do non-monogamy. You don't just go behind your partner's back and say, well, that's just how I am. Also, non-monogamy is a conversation that should be had with your partner if that is something that you're interested in pursuing. It's not something you just mention at the table in front of your partner's parents, embarrassing them. Bree is obviously upset because, once again, Bill is creating expectations she didn't agree to, and he continues to act like it's a joke. Bree confronts him again. He continues to deny it, then says he's scared because he doesn't want to fail. I thought that was such a long time ago, Bill. Anyway, Bree's mom is concerned about a recent shooting in her neighborhood, and Bree wants to help her out. She convinces Bill to let her stay for a moment until she can get a new place. However, that doesn't last very long. Her dogs make a poop on his rug, and there was this encounter one morning.
Are you coughing over the edge?
Only on your part.
She was really hacking up on the Megs, man. It was basically becoming annoyed by her presence. Understandable. However, this part didn't sit right with me. Bill comes home from work and sees Bree's immediate family there just shooting some pool. And I get Bill wanting to know about it, but that was the second time I see Bill having a serious face about something, and it's once again him having control over what Bree is doing. He's put a lot of energy into telling Bree she must become friends with his first wife, get approval from his first wife to fit in with his friends and his family, but the moment Bree brings her own family over to hang out in a space where she also lives, he immediately has a problem with it. Bill's parents come over at some point, and Bree says this.
I definitely feel like Bill has a set of rules for my family and a whole different set of rules for his family. He was ready to throw my mom out after a day of staying with us, but his family's gonna come stay for a week.
Control. Bree's mom ends up getting a nice place, rent paid for a year. Bill also suggests buying the house after the year is up. Nice gesture, right? But is it genuine? He couldn't even stand to have her at his house, but at this point, Bree's family is just cool with Bill. Something else I noticed aside from the obvious gaslighting, every time Bree brings up something serious with Bill, wanting to share her concerns with him, he always points out her age. The second time she brought up the cheating, he talked about how long ago it was, before she was even born. At the drop of a hat, he uses it to belittle her, and I think that's because there's a reason for it, because he chose someone so young. Let's talk about the psyche of Bill for a minute. Something about Bill comes off as extremely childish to me. He's in his 60s, has been married twice, and worth millions of dollars, but acts oblivious when it comes to how to be in a relationship with someone. He expects his ex-wife to hold his hand when navigating whatever he has with Bree. He acts surprised when Kathleen tells Bree about his cheating past. He's either incredibly immature or very calculated. I get that someone can excel at one thing and be completely incompetent in another. When you're acting like another adult has to tell you how to act and laughing at your partner when something is genuinely upsetting them, that's not normal. There were moments when I felt Bill was manipulating the energy between his ex and Bree. These two women have absolutely no reason to dislike each other, but every encounter we see of them on screen, there's tension. Catherine said in the beginning of their story arc that she saw Bree as harmless. Bree felt uncomfortable engaging with her because she had no reason to engage with her. Kathleen kept showing up to events or met up with Bree because Bill asked her to. He was puppeteering the situations. He was putting what he wanted before his partner, constantly playing with Bree's insecurities, kind of leaving her in the dark with where they were with their relationship. Bill said he isn't built for monogamy, but what would he be saying if Bree wanted to date a man closer to her age who's most likely much more attractive than him? I'm pretty sure the same rules wouldn't apply. From what I can find online, he and his first wife first started their business back in the 80s. I guess they kept buying properties until they made enough to invest and buy larger buildings, and then brought on other investors. I'm assuming Bill came from money and got a loan from his parents that allowed him to do this. It would make sense for someone so privileged to feel so entitled in a relationship or just with women in general. I was surprised to learn his parents were missionaries. Based on their appearance on the show, they seem like quiet, rational people, very different from their son. So I'm curious as to how Bill turned out the way he did. Bill does mention that his father had an affair with one woman, but that's not even the half of Bill's issues. Throughout the storyline, the upper crust of Dallas seemed to know this relationship wasn't going to work. In fact, no one really took it seriously, especially Kathleen. We were on the same page. However, I didn't approve of what she said to the camera after her first altercation with Bree.
We all love Bill, but this is part of our Bill. He has a wandering eye. He always has. He always will.
Why is this just the way Bill is? It's almost as if you're saying boys will be boys. His social circle chooses to judge the young women he dates instead of judging the guy himself. I feel like if these wealthy people judged him instead, he wouldn't be so out and proud about it. He would probably date women his own age. Instead, this type of behavior enables him, and it enables a lot in society, actually. I also wanted to mention an article in Dallas Magazine by Peter Simic, if I'm saying that correctly. It's a really good, comprehensive article, pretty much giving you the details of all that was going on with Bill. Honestly, I feel like I wasted time not pulling information from this article. I wanted to mention a few quotes that Peter had in here of people he interviewed who, for whatever reason, continues to defend Bill. And the first thing that sticks out to me is he got a few words from Kathleen, and she said he's innocent and he's stupid when it comes to women. Hutchinson's ex-wife, Kathleen, told me, but he's not Epstein. He's not Weinstein. He's not that kind of person. Another excerpt from the article says, when I spoke to some of these friends, they expressed disbelief. Sure, from the outside, Hutchinson's life might look a bit unconventional, but he was one of the gentlest and kindest men they knew. They shared stories of him bailing friends out of financial trouble, mentoring young entrepreneurs, opening his home to guests, and struggling to hold together his large mixed family. If anything, Hutchinson's generosity, they said, was matched only by his naivety. His accusers were just looking for a payday. There's even a business partner that, quote, says, he's 63 years old. You don't become that kind of person at 63 years old, which is just... it is idiocy in itself, I feel. How do you know that this person wasn't that type of dude all along? It's like that whole story of like, well, he's not mean to me, so I don't think he's a mean person. It's a straight up logical fallacy. And it's like they don't want to do any mental work to really think about the situation here. It's not completely far-fetched to bail your friends out of jail, take them out to nice dinners because they're your fucking friends. That doesn't mean that person's a good person. So looking back on these episodes, all I can think to myself is, why the hell was this allowed on television? There's an obvious power dynamic going on where a twice divorced 60-year-old man is preying on a very young adult who comes from a lower income background and most likely hasn't had a lot of experiences with men. He flashes his cash around, usurps her from a life that she was just getting started. She most likely hasn't had the chance to figure out who she is yet, or what she wants with her life. He places her into an environment that is very foreign to her and in his complete control. They met at her work, he kept coming to visit her, and eventually convinced her to date him and move in with him. A comment on a video made a comparison of their relationship to Big Ed from 90 Day Fiancé, and I thought that was another example. There's a string of 90 Day Fiancé videos that capture this trend of mediocre white men with a little bit of money going to third world countries to find a pretty brown girl to wow, because the conversion rate is so low, so they look like millionaires. That in itself, to me, is extremely predatory. I'm not calling Bree third world or anything like that, like there's anything wrong with that, but I think there's a pattern here. Throughout the series, Bree has a lot of grievances about their class differences. You constantly hear her say how different their worlds are. There are obviously some insecurities there. I feel Bill knows this and refuses to be empathetic and make an effort to make her feel more comfortable and let her know that he loves her. He never does that. I think that would qualify under cultural abuse. The guy does know Spanish, but I think understanding racial and economic disparities your partner may be dealing with are more important than just having been around Hispanic people. When I wanted to refresh my memory for this video, I was really surprised at the amount of outlets that gave this couple attention. Their taglines mentioned their age difference, but this was still paraded around like it was completely normal. A little relationship quirk. Here's one of the first articles you'll find about them. This article is full of contradictions. I'm not a stalker. It wasn't creepy. I wasn't like a stalker going to that restaurant staring at this young girl, the twice divorced real estate tycoon tells Parade magazine in this exclusive interview. I really wanted to meet her. I was impressed with her. She was also beautiful to me, and I thought this person must have a kind heart. We started becoming friends. We talked, we went out for coffee, and eventually that led to more dates. And then it led to where we are today. So it's a beautiful story. Bree begins to say something, but at this point, Bill stops her for a moment to interject. I'm not your typical 61-year-old. I still feel like a teenager. If anything, I feel younger than Bree at 21. Marry Millions is a brand new show. What did you say when they tried to convince you to do it? That's the best question you could ever ask. Because we probably said no at least 10 times. We have a very good life. We don't need the attention. We're not looking for anything. I'll tell you what they did. They were very persuasive. They actually flew down to Miami and sat with us and put in one-on-one effort to befriend us and ask us to do it. When someone goes that extra mile, travels a great deal, spends money, and they're sitting in your living room asking you to do something, it's really hard to turn them down. I almost felt guilty saying no after that, so we agreed to do it because being on reality TV is a very scary proposition because they edit it to look how they want it to look. Did you have any concerns that you could come off in a way that affects your business? Yes, I did. As you know, I'm 61 years old, so I'm not in the beginning of my career. I don't want to say I'm in the latter years of my career. You are, Bill. I hopefully have a lot of time and years left, but I own my own company, so I don't have a boss. There's no one who can fire me if they edit it to make me look bad. Back in the first episode, there's a dinner that you take Bree to where one of your women friends kind of attacks her and acts like she's only with you because of your money. And you don't actually defend her. That's why I asked the last question. Well, let me say, we've not been able to see any episodes. So you have that one over us. I also say that as much as my personal attorney asked for the editing rights, they would not give up any rights. They said no reality TV actor gets editing rights on a reality show. And I understand why. They're creating the story, and if we don't want to look bad, we might hurt their story by saying, oh, you've got to take that out. They filmed for hours, and then that dinner might be 5 minutes on the show. I don't know. I'm sure I defended Bree to the death. No, you didn't. But I'm sure they didn't show that. We didn't know that woman extremely well. She was actually the date of one of our friends. Dallas women can be brutal to each other, especially when climbing social ladders. And the higher up you get, the more likely they'll backstab you. The more likely they'll grab each other and pull each other down. Then Bree says, oh yeah, it was insanity. And the younger you are, the more they hate you. Not only younger, but the prettier you are. I hate to say it, but for women in this community, that is very typical. We don't let it affect us. Our friends are our friends. My great friends, wives and girlfriends who are older than Bree, they love Brianna. I do get a few slight comments or a few slight looks from women, but it's nothing that I can't deal with on the daily because we keep to ourselves. We even go to social events, but we don't really put ourselves in a position to really have anything bother me or hurt my feelings. That's not true. Bill's pretty good at protecting me from these catty women. We never fight. Now you'll probably see some fighting on the show, and that is created out of some maybe situational topics or things that happen on the show, but we really have a very loving, peaceful life, and we really care about each other very deeply. It's just a wonderful relationship. I've had 2 marriages, so this is my 3rd serious relationship, other than just girlfriends down the line, and this by far is the smoothest, sweetest, most wonderful relationship I've been in. Based on this title, I'm not sure if the interview was being sarcastic or not. Then there is a string of Dr. Phil videos on YouTube that put the most attention on them. Honestly, I think Dr. Phil comes off as even more of a quack for giving this any sort of legitimacy, but I shouldn't be surprised with Texas Pete at this point. If you haven't already, y'all should definitely check out Big Joel's 3 videos on Dr. Phil and the 2-parter episode of the awesome podcast Behind the Bastards that they did on Dr. Phil. He's a piece of poop. When it comes to the topic of abuse, I think a lot of people out there are not educated on it. If it isn't a blatant example of rape or domestic violence where a woman is beaten within an inch of her life, they don't see it or they don't believe it. There are so many comments online saying, sis is just getting her bag, securing that coin. He uses her beauty, she uses his wealth, they're even. And trust me, I'm all for a woman getting her coin. Some people even suggested her getting a degree or creating capital with his money and then leaving, which I do not oppose. Even Kathleen even suggested that she do that. But this isn't a sugar baby who knew what she wanted and found a sugar daddy. He sought her out. He did. I'm really sick of people online saying, oh, she's a legal adult. I even had someone come at me on the Marry Millions subreddit because I said you're still a kid at 18. In some states, the age of consent is 16. Would that make it okay? Whenever there is an imbalance of power, there is a potential for abuse. Money is power. Lack of life experience is setting Bree up for abuse. It doesn't matter how mature you seem for your age. I don't care if you're a valedictorian or a musical prodigy. There are things that you aren't going to grasp about the world until you've experienced it. I see a girl who may have initially been wowed by the money, but really did catch feelings for this dude. As someone who was a victim of abuse, I understand that sometimes you don't really see what's going on until after the fact. It can take a while to sink in, sometimes years. You're either deeply in love or your brain is protecting you from trauma and you don't even realize it. So you keep moving, especially if you're within the age range where it's scientifically proven that your judgment and problem-solving abilities haven't finished developing yet. So I wouldn't be surprised if in a few years from now, we hear from Bree with her own stories about Bill. Okay, now assault details. To this day, Bill has been accused of sexually assaulting 3 young women. Update alert, future world again. During the making of this video, I found out that a 4th woman has come out claiming that she was assaulted by Hutchinson, Jane Doe 4. She's been added onto the civil lawsuit against him right now. Long story short, she was in her late 20s at the time and she met Hutchinson at a political event. And while he hosted a party at his home, it says the 2 exchanged contact information at the event and saw each other at various social outings. Jane Doe 4 had friends in common with Hutchinson's circle of friends. It says that she looked up to him as a mentor because he had mentored the person Jane Doe worked for when she first met him. And apparently after that, he had assaulted her several times. So there's that. Her story won't be included in this video since I learned about this literally as I'm editing this right now. So sorry about that, guys. I'm going to give an outline of each, but for more detail, you can follow the links below. Jane Doe is a young woman studying business at a prominent Texas university. She became acquainted with defendant Hutchinson on social media, and they soon began to direct message back and forth on Instagram. Jane Doe was interested in Hutchinson's successful business career and hoped to receive career advice from Hutchinson or maybe a job or an internship. She forwarded her resume at Hutchinson's request and soon relayed her life story to Hutchinson, confiding in him about the hardships she's faced throughout her life as well as her educational and career goals. Jane Doe made it very clear that she saw a professional relationship with Hutchinson. Defendant Hutchinson had a different plan and continued in efforts to cross the line. Hutchinson knew that Jane Doe had experienced a series of hardships that he was aware of and used that to manipulate and seek sex from Jane Doe, even though she had told him several times that she was interested in friendship and mentorship from him. Over time, Hutchinson arranged for Jane Doe to meet him in Dallas. Jane Doe, under this impression that Hutchinson would speak to her about the real estate business and help her with professional opportunities. Hutchinson had his driver from the Virgin Hotel pick up Jane Doe from her house nearly 100 miles away and drive her to the Virgin Dallas Hotel, owned and operated by defendants Dunhill and Virgin. On or about June 6, 2020, Jane Doe met with Hutchinson on the premises of the Dallas Virgin Hotel, owned and operated by defendants Dunhill and Virgin. At this meeting, Hutchinson assaulted Jane Doe and attempted to sexually assault her. During this meeting, Hutchinson ordered numerous alcoholic beverages and provided alcohol to Jane Doe without identifying her age or if she could legally consume alcohol. Hutchinson encouraged Jane Doe to drink alcoholic beverages to the point where she was intoxicated. Jane Doe consumed alcohol and became very intoxicated. Hutchinson then took Jane Doe to an apartment nearby the hotel that he owned. Jane Doe was so intoxicated that she could not walk straight. Despite being clearly intoxicated, Hutchinson continued to touch Jane Doe. Jane Doe made efforts not to go into the apartment, but suggesting they go by the pool. Unfortunately, she was unable to convince Hutchinson to go to the pool. Once in the apartment, Hutchinson took Jane Doe into a bedroom and tried to get Jane Doe to lay down on the bed with him. Jane Doe did not wish to go into bed with Hutchinson. Hutchinson pulled Jane Doe into the bed. Hutchinson then pushed Jane Doe down on the bed, forcing Jane Doe into the bed. Hutchinson attempted to force himself onto her. Jane Doe 2 lived in the same school district as two minors who were living with Bill. One is the daughter of an ex-wife and the other a friend who had been living with Bill since she was 15. Somehow, Bill is her legal guardian. March 2021, Jane's family was moving to Fort Worth, Texas, and an arrangement was made to let her stay in Dallas in order to finish her semester uninterrupted. For some reason, Bill offers to also take legal guardianship of Jane. Luckily, she declines. Long story short, throughout her time staying with him, she would travel with Bill to 3 other locations: Laguna Beach, Miami, and a resort in Arizona. There would only be other minors on this trip. Sometimes Bree wouldn't even be there. During these trips, that's where the assault began and continued after coming back to Texas. There were multiple occasions where Bill would get in her bed while she was sleeping and penetrate her, molest her, pretty much force her to do the things she didn't want to do. Eventually, Jane finds out from a friend who had been staying with Bill that he has legal guardianship of her. He sexually assaulted her as well, and she says she feels trapped. And I think that was the intent. He allegedly claimed that he owned this girl. This all happened between April and May. So as soon as Jane 2 moved in, he couldn't wait to start jizzing in his pants all over kids. A woman in her late 20s, referred to as Jane Doe 3, moved to Dallas in 2020 for a job before she met Hutchinson. At one point over the summer, she was at the Virgin Hotel in Dallas Design District having drinks with friends when some older men started hitting on her, and Hutchinson inserted himself into the conversation. During their conversation, Hutchinson asked the woman to give him her phone number so he could help her with business and social connections. Hutchinson said that he owned the hotel and another prominent property. Feeling pressured, she gave him her number. Later that summer, Hutchinson invited the woman to a party on the Virgin Hotel's rooftop. During the party, she had a few alcoholic drinks, and Hutchinson continued to scoot closer to her to the point of discomfort. At one point, he put his hand on her thigh and she pushes him away, says the lawsuit. As the party cleared out, Hutchinson told the woman that he and some friends were going back to a hotel room and asked her to pick up the room key from the reception desk and meet them there. Believing that the group from the party would be in the hotel room, the woman picked up the key. But when she got to the room, Hutchinson was the only person there. In all 3 of these situations, Bill used his wealth and access to manipulate. 2 of them were technically legal. Jane 1 wanted to network, knowing of his connections, and Jane 2 felt pressured and indebted to him because of the lavish trips and dinners and being allowed to finish her school semester. Jane 3, scouted by Bill, was at his own hotel, was told directly by Bill that he would help her with social connections and use that as a way to keep her coming. I think Bill is someone who's never had to face any consequences because of his money. Even his mugshot tells me that. Bottom line, Bill is a predator. I believe guys like him are dangerous, and unfortunately there are too many. They look for something or someone they can take advantage of for their own benefit and exploit. Because who's going to stop him? Imagine if Bree didn't have such close family ties. Would the relationship look any different? Knowing these things about Bill, now I'm really curious how his family would react to this. I really hope she's okay, and I also hope Bill's victims are okay. As of now, Brianna's comments on IG have been turned off, and it looks like she's spending more time with her family. So God, Allah, Cosmos willing, the cracks will start to show, and she can finally find her way out. Because, like I predicted in 2019, while eating a Jimmy John sub in bed, this isn't going to be pretty. Like, another...